Are we in?
We're in. We're live.
Sweet.
Hello, everybody. Paul Tarantino, Cedric Youngelman.
This is BitcoinCenter.
Hat.
No hat.
Hat free.
Shiny bald head. I've been hearing about that a lot on the YouTube and the X.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. How did I get my head so shiny?
Nice.
You know.
It takes years of polishing.
Right. Dude, I don't know. So Bitcoin's kind of down a bit from last week.
Yeah, it is.
But I don't know if you saw on August 2nd, Josh Mandel said the low would be 112,700.
Really?
Yeah.
1,1200
on this sort of mini cycle here.
Really? We were like
we're at 112,700 right now and change.
I saw he also kind of scolded Michael Saylor today.
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of scolding of Saylor, I think. And I think he's sort of bridging that chasm between traditional FI, and like the James Chanos of the world. Yeah. And looking at this from that perspective and sort of the Bitcoin Treasury Company's thesis. Yeah. That
what is the big kerfuffle with strategy changing their ATM language?
So, this really comes down to that, people have been saying that strategy is Ponzi-like adjacent. Okay. Right? Yep. And what they're saying, if they got to sell new common to pay off old debts or their debt, right? Then that's sort of like bringing in new money to pay off old money.
Right.
So Josh Mandel has been suggesting sell a small amount of Bitcoin.
Right.
And, maybe 37 Bitcoin or something like that. Put aside $500 million.
Yeah, I heard them talking about like putting it in an SPV, maybe.
Yeah, maybe even like a subsidiary, a trading desk. You can manage this in all different ways, right? But you say, hey, look, we just took some profits on our huge trade to carry the trade.
I mean, they could literally generate income off trading their Bitcoin.
But this is a conundrum because you're pushing him now to break his own word of never selling, right? But so then strategy did come out and say, hey, look, we're not going to push the envelope on the MNAV. We're going to put a floor and say that below 2.5 MNAV, we're no longer going to sell at will, only sort of in certain situations with like the preferred debt. So it looked like there was a floor on the MNAV in terms of they were not going to sell below the line. And then like
sell shares below the line.
Yeah. And then 8 days later, they did it at 180.
Right. And
said, hey, we're going to now maybe sell at whatever we want below 2.5 for whatever reason.
Right.
And that kind of made people feel like, hey, now you really did break your word, or that's how people see it. A lot of this is like, how do they not play their hand or show their hand? I mean, so
this all like it kind of like makes me think like people were applying Bitcoin logic to a corporation. Like in Bitcoin, we have rules, no rulers. In a security, you have rulers, no rules.
Sure.
Right. So like, but these people that are diehard MicroStrategy want to apply the rules, no rulers to this security.
Right.
And so it doesn't, it's like, people just not.
Well, we'll get into it on the show. There's a lot of ways to look at what strategy's doing with the preferreds, with their winding down the convertible debt. There's a lot more there. It's just interesting how
fast, like, but I mean, I'm assuming like all the diehard guys don't think this is a big deal.
Well, if you have Bitcoin in self-custody, this is not a big deal.
No, I mean the diehard MSTR guys.
Well, people are blocking each other. There's, some people are, I don't know.
It's getting hot.
It's getting hot and heavy. Let's get into the show.
Awesome.
This is BitcoinCenter. The Youngelman.
Dude, I love the new intro. It's fire.
Yeah, man. Francis came up with that. So
good job.
Can't wait to roll out the video.
All right, question number 1. Bitcoin hits a new all-time high, 124K, then sells off. What factors will determine whether this rally can sustain?
I mean, sentiment is low right now. It's strange at 112,000 and change. Yeah. Bitcoin in TradFi terms is up a lot for this year, 20 to 30%. It's up a lot, like 60% over the last year to date. But it's weird. I think it speaks to how mature the market's gotten. There's a lot of sideways churn and burn, and then small bumps up. Every dip is getting eaten up. But I did a show with Andy Edstrom at the beginning of the year. Yeah. And he made the point that the liquidity in Bitcoin for Bitcoiners might not be there this cycle. There might not be 175,000 Bitcoin this cycle. Then might not be 250. This could be a top. I mean, that's possible. Well, but I mean, what would it take for the rally to continue? I think if you want to be positive about it, I think there's a lot of stakeholders want to drive price down to scoop up cheaper Bitcoin before all the road gets paved for the stable coins and sort of.
I also feel like we'd had a fairly significant run from where we hit our lows, 78 or so. What did we hit back in April? Like
77 or 77,
78,
like
and ran all the way up to 124.
Yep.
This could literally just be a little consolidation phase before we go to the next leg higher. I think it still sustains. I think it still.
But there's been a lot of good news,
and
it's been sort of quiet. Volume seems down. Excitement seems low.
Yeah.
A lot of sourness. Let's go on to the next one. Bitcoin's muted post-reaction to low inflation data last week. Is a Fed rate cut priced in? Or is the Fed even going to cut rates? I think everyone's banking on rate cuts.
I think first of all, you could just simply say the Fed's always priced in because the market moves before the Fed. The Fed has always, historically, if you align the charts, you see the Fed follows the market. They don't lead the market.
Right.
And up and until we get to some sort of yield curve control, right, where they're purposely suppressing yields relative to inflation. Otherwise, I think this is standard protocol. Once the market tells us the rates are going lower, then the Fed will follow.
I don't think the Fed's going to lower rates. I think they're only going to lower rates if the economy hits the fan. Shit hits the fan.
Yeah.
I think Trump wants to end the Fed.
No, yeah, for sure.
I don't even think it's just get Powell out. I think
I agree.
And I think they were just working around.
I agree, but
I don't think Powell's really truly incentivized to cut rates right now. Inflation looks like it's running hot.
No,
still.
that's why to CYA they're going to follow the market. The bond market will tell us
some
before Powell tells.
Powell's the GOAT. I want to.
Yeah, it could be.
Let's go on to the next one though.
Yeah, could be. All right, next question. Bessent walks back on no new Bitcoin comment. Did Bessent misspeak, or is this a strategic move to manage expectations and buy lower?
Well, I think it's the first and the third. I think it's both. I think he didn't. I don't think he misspoke. I don't think the government is going to buy Bitcoin. Right. I don't think they're going to buy your bags.
I said that tweet as soon as I saw it because I knew you were going to be.
They don't want to buy something they can't sell. That makes no sense.
The whole comment about we will continue confiscation that was a little
scary.
Disturbing.
Yes, that was, and I think that was the quiet part out loud. I don't think he misspoke. I mean, you could say he misspoke. Maybe he didn't want to say that, but I think he meant that.
I think so too.
And I think
that's a budget neutral way of acquiring more Bitcoin.
And I think someone did give him a phone call and tell him to put out a different tweet, but I don't think he was thrilled about that tweet. And I think he kind of read.
If you're like an enemy of the state and you're buying Bitcoin at Coinbase, do they say, "Hey, Coinbase, we're taking that Bitcoin because we no longer support XYZ country holding those coins, so we're taking it from them"?
Does sort of like Swift and Russian funds, yeah. I mean, that misses the whole point of Bitcoin, but yeah, that's
right.
Yeah, but would they do it to their own citizens? Right, or their own companies or institutions.
I'm sure they would do it if Palantir says they broke the law.
All right, I want to ask you this.
They'll get it before they break the law.
I want to hear your take on this. So let's go on to the next one. Grant Cardone mixes real estate with 1,000 Bitcoin allocation. Is Grant Cardone the Michael Saylor of real estate?
To a certain degree, right? I think it is. I think this is a really interesting way to give your investors an extra piece of collateral that has a growth rate that probably will far exceed that piece of real estate. So to me, it's like a sweetener in the deal, right? And it's not quite a Michael Saylor strategy, and they're not creating some new security. They're simply using the Bitcoin as a better source of collateral, a hedge against inflation. Let's say that real estate only appreciates at the pace of inflation going forward, which I think you could make the case at a macro level that all real estate could be doing that. You have an extra sweetener that Bitcoin could be growing at a CAGR of 30+%.
Yeah, I think it's a smart play.
Yeah, I'd
like to follow this one. Grant's coming on the Bitcoin Matrix at the end of September. So we'll get into a little bit more there. Let's bring on Dave Collum. But first, I think we're going to run a clip about Putin and Trump.
He's glancing up at the jet. Am I under attack? Well, don't worry. I'm not going to bother.
Mr. President, what's your message to Vladimir Putin? Mr. Putin, did you underestimate Ukraine?
He must hate our journalists.
Right? Exactly.
All right, let's bring in Dave. I mean,
excited.
I am. I've been in the car all day. I just got up to the cabin, and so the lighting is not exactly studio ready. It's a
Oh, we love the cabin. It looks awesome.
120-year-old cabin. You know, no heat, no nothing, just lots of dogs.
Cool.
is it cold? Are you freezing?
It gets down to around 40 at night this time of year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Well,
what's this Bitcoin shit you guys are talking about? What is that?
I don't know. We're still trying to figure that out.
By the way, I want to point out that the biggest bubble in history is probably the Japanese equity bubble,
That was huge.
and it had morphed into a real estate play. And so the fact that you guys are talking about what used to be wealth creating companies using Bitcoin to juice their numbers says that we're fucked. I guarantee you. It's fine for Saylor to do it because he basically said, I'm turning my company into a Bitcoin company, right? I don't think he makes anything. Is that correct?
well, they're still selling
the software.
the
They have
business
their software
intelligence. But I mean, are they winding it down? Is it increasing year over year? Or are they growing the
It's
margin?
a front, right? It's like the barbershop of a mafia. And so I think that's dangerous. I have a question for you. There's a bunch of I listened to Aaron Day's audiobook, in part because it wasn't what I expected it to be, but he talks about different Bitcoins, which I have not been paying attention to, as you know, Cedric. I will when there'll be something that tells me to pay attention, and it's not going to be the indicators that you guys obviously already took. But there's different Bitcoins. He talked about it very matter-of-factly. And I was on a podcast with Marty Bent the other day. I am the most famous non-hodler in the Bitcoin community, best I can tell. Is there another one that?
Maybe Peter Schiff. Maybe Peter Schiff.
I think you're the most famous one who's talking about it objectively and trying to understand.
Yeah, Peter Schiff they hate. So I'm supposed to moderate a Peter Schiff debate on Zero Hedge. I'm trying to remember who he was debating in about 3 days. So, I have a Tucker Carlson interview coming out tomorrow, supposedly too. That'll be fun.
That's gonna be
Yeah,
fun.
we didn't talk about Bitcoin. He talked about these different Bitcoins and very matter of factly in his book. Aaron did. And
Are you talking about Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin Gold?
You know, these ones that all have 21 million upper limits.
I'm sorry, say it again.
21 million upper limit.
They all have 21 million upper limit Bitcoin counts, but they're different coins. Is that correct?
Yes.
Sure.
That was news to me, which gives you an idea. I'm not paying attention. I don't go to meetings. I don't sit there and, kiss the brass ring, whatever.
They do have different consensus mechanisms, different block sizes, different.
Right. But what struck me, and Cedric and I have talked about why I see risk in Bitcoin. It's not to say that risk is going to play out. It's not to say you guys aren't going to be stinking rich, but there is a percentage of your community that is just completely and utterly clueless about risk, right? They just think that there's just nothing that can touch Bitcoin. I guarantee you.
Wouldn't that be typical across most investments though? That retail is heavily involved in?
Most investments don't go against the power structure like Bitcoin is.
Yeah. Right.
So you're in a battle against the state. You're in a battle against the global state.
Yeah.
So by
that's why most of us got into it.
No, I know. I mean, I turned it down at 10, right? And I don't lose sleep because I would have sold it at 50 and used the proceeds to pay for therapy.
How much do you think if Bitcoin goes to the moon, how much do you think it's just Bitcoiners get rich and nothing changes and the state captures Bitcoin, or Bitcoiners get rich?
I don't know.
And things change.
These are the questions that all the hodlers should be asking, and you can be wildly enthusiastic while looking at risk and saying, "Yeah, I see the risk. I've been buying platinum lately, right? And platinum could go down." And so I'm well aware of it. But what's hidden is,
Dave, if everybody held gold in self-custody, or let's say 50% of the gold in circulation was held by people in their safes at home,
right?
How would you feel about gold in that situation versus, because that would kind of align with Bitcoin right now?
Well,
do you think
again,
that would have a positive impact on the world?
There's a thing called the Lindy effect, I think. I think it's called the Lindy effect, where it basically says the longer something's been around, the more likely it is to be around. And gold's 5,000 years, and Bitcoin has got 16 years.
But it is 24/7. So it's traded more.
No. I know all the merits. 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 Everyone thinks that if I understood Bitcoin, that I would buy it. And they don't understand that it's not a failure to understand Bitcoin. It is a failure. It is a belief that I understand markets and politics.
So what do you think of the Genius Act? And what do you think of what do you think is happening right now with stable?
I have no idea. I have no idea. To me, it's just total chaos. So, let me make one point. There's a finite number of Bitcoin. There is an infinite number of cryptos. And so you could say, well, you can only have 21 million Bitcoin. You go, yeah, but you can have another 21 million of Bitcoin 2.0, which is what Aaron's book kind of alerted me to. Because he talked about him like very matter of factly. He goes, well, there's 21 million possible of this kind too. And of this kind, I go, what? One of the things that strikes me as possible is you look at Google, right? Google was not going to lose search. And then all of a sudden AI shows up, and now Google's spending hundreds of billions to survive, right? So the idea that nothing could displace Bitcoin, it'll be like a cat chasing a laser pointer. So if something, there could be something that would show up that say, oh, Bitcoin's too slow, it's used too much energy. We like this one, right? There's no way any hodler can say that can't happen.
Yeah, sure.
It's all happened. It's already all happened. Right.
I know
everything you're talking about all happened. And the market participants had a few contentions with those alternative Bitcoin. One, there was a founder, a ruler, somebody who changed the rules, and they could be located, pinpointed, and pressure could be put on them. Two,
I think what he's saying is pressure could be put behind them as well to support them, and the state could get behind one of these projects and sort of roll this thing out in some way we're not foreseeing right now. I think it's sort of the Ben Hunt argument about where, with a smart, clever coyote until someone comes up behind us and puts a gun behind our head, and we're so smart.
You could be the turkey that's had a great life for 364 days, right? And then there's this question. So for example, here's a bet I'll make. If Bitcoin plays out the way the green, clueless, religious, cult-headed hodlers think, and that's a particular group of hodlers who, as I said to you, Cedric, Bitcoin's perfect for destroying people who don't know why they own it, right? I think that's a quote you've used several times. There's great risk here where all of a sudden you ask the question, are we going to end up in a world where Max and Stacy and John Saylor replace the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds? And the answer is no, never.
Why is that?
Because they'll kick your ass. They will destroy you. If you don't think they have the power to destroy you, you're missing something.
This goes back to what you were saying that we come out of Nashville with sort of Trump and sort of like, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're not needed anymore. You're not needed anymore.
Kind of like, congratulations, dumb shits. You guys are going to get wealthy.
The great result would be if you guys get to keep your wealth. They say, okay, but now we're going to go with CBDCs. We really appreciate you developing the tech and the on-ramps and the off-ramps and getting people sensitized to Bitcoin. But now it's time for you to go. Kind of Zelensky-like, right? So they're going to say to Zelensky, they're going to say, okay, there's Cayman Island money, or we're going to pop you in the head.
I feel like we've been kind of like playing out these scenarios for so many years that now when we see CBDCs, we see stable coins, we see that as the what do you call the introductory to digital assets that the average person will have their first experience. but then it leads to Bitcoin.
But you're
as a
saying
store
that
of
in a
value.
free world where there's not all these attached entitlements and restrictions attached to those CBDCs that keep people in the mousetrap. So you can't buy. You can only use it. You need to spend it in 24 hours.
I guess
I'm
generally a believer, and that society goes through these huge cycles, and that we are as a human race moving into a decentralizing cycle, which could.
And I think Dave, though, Dave's,
years.
I think more pessimistic and cynical. I don't say this in a pejorative way, but right now sees humanity not coming out of this in a positive way. I think I was listening to your conversation with Mike on Coffee with Mike, and it seemed like you kind of see like we're losing this battle.
I think we are. I think
we're so mired in noise that not enough people are going to pick up signal.
Yes,
and we're just fucked.
I think the internet may have ushered in authoritarianism.
That's the meme.
The internet might have guaranteed it.
Yeah, we get the fork, and it's like CBDCs and Bitcoin, and it's like Valhalla and like fucked up hell, and 99% of the people might get trapped over here, and even some Bitcoiners will get trapped over there.
But that's, I'm not saying that I don't have any sense of the probability. What scares me is when my Twitter feed is filled with people who think the only reason I don't own Bitcoin is because I don't understand it. I understand it enough. Put it this way, I probably understand Bitcoin better than I understand platinum. I probably understand Bitcoin better than platinum. I understand Bitcoin better than this laptop. But I can accept the laptop. The point being is, it is not a failure to understand Bitcoin. I mean, there's obviously gaps. There might be some piece of some puzzle piece where all of a sudden it goes and I go, oh, I've got it, right? The portability, the fact that you don't have to stick it up your ass to cross, a government line, the fact you don't have to sew diamonds into the hem of your clothes to escape, things like that. I get that. That's not holding me back. What's holding me back is, hypothetically, the leaders get together in Davos, wherever, they say, okay, it's been fun. We need to bring in the CBDCs now. And so let's drop the boom. And so what happens if, for example, in the United States, they say it is against the law to use Bitcoin? You have now become the Bitcoin cartel. You're now working above the law. In a digital world, they'll find your ass, hunt you down like a mad dog very quickly. And so people say, well, I'll go to Guatemala. And I go, I don't want to go to fucking Guatemala.
Exactly.
Okay. I don't want to have to share a room with Matt Smith, right? These are the risks. The long arm of the state, that we've transitioned into empire, and empires do not end well.
What if the state is rolling out Bitcoin to extend the dollar? I mean, Bitcoin's built on SHA-256 technology, that's CIA tech. It is very convenient if you can attach the price of Bitcoin, or if you can attach the value of the dollar to the price of Bitcoin through stable coins, you can really extend the life of the dollar and enter monetary colonialism. And I'm not arguing for all this, but this is one way to look at it, or one possibility. And the government could use CBDCs and Bitcoin to enter all the markets they can't with our current incarnation of the dollar.
It terrifies me that the federal government is saying the beauty, if we have $2 trillion worth of stable coins, they'll be backed by treasuries, and therefore it'll create a $2 trillion demand for treasuries. They're using it. They're using it.
Well, for every dollar stable coin they sell, they get $2. The dollar that the stable coin that's bought, that's $1, and then the U.S. Treasury dollar that backs it. So it's a 2-for-1 deal, and it's a growing market to sell U.S. Treasuries to sell debt, to roll over the debt.
But again, the extreme was illustrated by Japan. Now, I've heard this quote so many times. I've got to believe it's true, but I can't say I've actually looked into the foundation of it. But the claim is that real estate in Japan got so overpriced that the Imperial Palace, which no doubt is a hell of a palace, was priced based on real estate values at more than the state of California. Yet somehow, somebody posted the other day, 28 years ago, Intel, August 1997, the pinnacle of it Intel's heyday, right? This Intel was God. They had no idea that 28 years later, the price would be identical, the share price. Not an investor in the world would have predicted that. And inflation adjusted.
They've issued a lot of shares since then too.
But humans have
you know what I'm saying? I mean, there's not going to be any more Bitcoin issued.
No, there'll be other Bitcoins.
No one has decided to use those.
No. What was Aaron talking about then? What was Aaron? Well, but what happens when one comes along and says, oh, by the way, it solves the whole energy problem? I don't know what problem has to be solved. Yeah. I didn't see AI coming. Google apparently didn't see AI coming.
Well, they invented their own disruption.
Well, you wrote about AI 10 years ago.
And Google, they also.
I did write about AI 10 years ago, but I didn't understand what I was saying.
What if Google saw AI coming, but they weren't handed that chip by the government? I mean, they handed it out to Sam Altman. I mean,
no, I think
they choose winners and losers.
All these big AI companies are disrupting themselves.
Yeah, I don't even think there's going to be a lot of value in AI.
I think they live in a culture where it's
I don't either.
Disrupt or die, and so they are disrupting themselves, replacing their own. I know,
but I'm picking an example of a company that looked undefeatable. Several of them. I've given you Intel back in 97.
Companies are not like companies have.
No, but the humans who believe. No, I'm not making an argument that's related between a company and Bitcoin. Humans believe. There'll be some fateful point. We're going to have a secular top. We are going to have one. I think we've been trying to find one for 10 years now, easily 10 years. We're some 2:03 p.m. in the afternoon. It is going to be the top that will not only not be found for 25 more years, but then even when it's found, the market will go back up and then it'll come back and find it again. And it's happened over and over again where these stretches are 40 to 75 years.
Yeah.
At that moment, that secular top, optimism is at a maximum where the justification for optimism is zero. So my point is that the Bitcoin community right now is so enthusiastic and so, and I don't mean the whole community. I wouldn't talk to the guys. I was on a podcast. Was it with you, Cedric, when I was in a four-way with four hodlers?
The fourth turning pound.
And after a while, I just got tired. It just got tiring. You know, they were trying to sell me Bitcoin. You just got to get a little. And I go, I don't want a little.
I think
the reason I don't want a little is because what good is that going to do me?
I agree with your
secular. Not going to do it. I got to commit.
Well, Dave's looking for true price discovery. It seems like right now everything, stock comes out, there's bad news, and then it bounces back.
But
I want to
think about. I want you to think about this, Dave. So I agree with your secular top in the global economic share.
No, this is not an economic statement. This is a sentiment statement.
Okay.
The top, the secular top, is the moment where
the prices of stocks.
The price
right?
At the point the sentiment reaches a maximum, the sentiment reaches a maximum is precisely the same point where the justification for the maximum is zero.
I agree. And let's say Bitcoin is flat for the next 40 years.
Right.
Maybe it fluctuates in the 50% range like the S&P 500 did for all the 70s. Let's say we do that. Simultaneously, I could see massive deflation driven by AI that makes the cost of goods and keeps Bitcoin's purchasing power high while the price of everything else falls.
But you're still just making a case for Bitcoin, which I'm not arguing with, actually.
Okay.
I'm arguing with the fact that there's unseeable things,
of course,
that come along, which include government stomping on your face, curb stomping you. Because you no longer fit into their narrative. Right? Did anyone see Stalin kill? Did anyone see that Stalin was going to kill 40 million people?
The only problem with that argument, Dave, is that you need all these governments to collude because
they already do.
If there's one,
they already do.
But if there's one or two that won't go along with it, and
then they game theory,
and then the game theory starts to unwind, and
but that's the point. Like, do you want to live in Guam?
Or do you want to be what country was it? So what country that said they were going to come up with a gold denarius? What was that kind of Iraq? One of those?
It was Libya.
Yeah. Libya.
And what did we do to Libya?
Yeah.
What did we do to Libya?
Yeah, we killed them.
Same thing.
We took Gaddafi out.
And we took Hussein out when he wanted to sell it for the euro, the oil for the
Right.
Well, that's the thing. So that's a lot of people see that the dollar was first originally tethered to gold, then tethered to oil, and you need an asset class to tether the dollar to. And I'm not pro the government buying Bitcoin at all, but I think that's the case for the government using.
I think that's a
Bitcoin
bad sign, actually. Yeah.
You know. Okay, fair enough.
Let me ask you. No. I think it's a bad sign. The government's buying Bitcoin. They're now.
They're not buying Bitcoin yet. They're rolling out the sort of the regulatory framework for stable coins.
So
what we're saying here is that maybe, and this is just a theory, right? Very hard to prove. But what if, when you look at the technology that is the structure of Bitcoin, that all came from the state, if the government was to war game out their own debt default, perhaps they would engineer an asset that they could later bring into the fold that would fix the balance sheet of the United States and allow them to prolong the dollar.
Now, Bitcoin's at the halfway mark, right?
Halfway
isn't like 11 million Bitcoin out
no,
there.
What's the number? There's 19.9
Oh no,
million.
90% have already been emitted or issued.
So why would the government depend on one where 90% is already owned by someone else?
Because they're
well, they need
they
the
can
asset
buy,
class
they can buy at the top price, right? They need it to get adopted into the economy and into businesses and into individual, mostly American holders, so that when they drive the asset price up onto their balance sheet, it lifts the entire GDP of the United States.
Right now, the dollar is the reserve currency. We have such a huge percentage of the currency that matters right now. And all of a sudden, you're saying that we're going to get into one where we don't own.
It enables them to sell more of the dollar. The way gold enabled them to sell more of the dollar, oil enabled them to sell more of the dollar.
And I'm not trying to convince you.
How do you make that connection? Make that for me then. This is the part I missed.
If, for example, next week, the Treasury and the Fed said, we're going to revalue the gold. We're going to price it at the market.
I've challenged gold bugs to explain what the fuck that
that's a good
means,
point here.
They have not been able to give me a good answer.
But
what does revalue the gold mean?
What revaluing the gold is going to fund the Treasury General account with something.
Now, how do you revalue? How do you revalue
to replenish?
It
increases the value of your balance sheet if you market to market, but it doesn't give you any cash unless you sell it.
No. Yeah. That's not because you borrow dollars into existence.
Let's say we have 87.
You have a credit now at the Fed for whatever you revalued the gold at, and therefore you can borrow those dollars and you can issue more treasuries.
You can issue more debt, essentially.
Yes.
You're arguing that
you can do that anyway. You can do that anyway.
They can do that with anyway. They don't need
but nobody's going to buy your debt if the country is bankrupt.
Okay, so you revalue the gold by backing treasuries with gold.
Right, by increasing.
So you have to be willing to. You have to be willing to give up the gold then, because it ain't gold backed if you're not willing to give up the gold.
No, it wouldn't be gold backed.
Yeah, you have to be able to do the exchange. You have to open the window.
Then we can just issue treasuries. We have 8,700 tons of gold? We could.
But if we issue more treasuries now, without any willingness to fix the balance sheet, then we're just going to get a larger and larger debt spiral, and it's going to be harder to convince foreign entities and corporations to buy the treasuries.
We already can. We're already there.
Right. So by repricing the gold, increasing the balance sheet of the treasury, people will be more comfortable on buying those treasuries.
The world already knows that we have 8,700 tons of gold. They know that. Well, it might not be true, but let's say they know that. I don't see where declaring you can price gold in M&Ms. We have 8,700 tons of gold. So we also have an army. We have nuclear weapons. We have all the things. Nothing has changed. Now, if you want to reprice the gold at $30,000, then you have to be willing to pay $30,000 for gold. You have to be willing to support that.
Yeah, there have to be transactions at that price.
Now look at what the Constitution said. This is the document. It said money is only to be made out of gold and silver. I can't remember the exact wording, but it says that.
Until I forget the name.
Until 1933.
That outlawed it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they said you'll be thrown in jail if you hang on to it. Mm-hmm. You can't get more than a constitutional protection. And they said, fuck that.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And again, no one saw Mao coming. No one saw Stalin coming. You know, the world changed the day they dropped the bomb on Hiroshima.
Yeah.
There's just things that come that you can't see coming. And
true.
If you were to make me bet right now that 20 years from now, Bitcoin is dominant, I got binary choice. Bitcoin is just dominant or it's gone. I would have to bet gone. Or gone operationally. There might be some guys fiddling with it, but you can also buy, Deutschmarks, $1 trillion Deutschmarks too. And I do believe they have the power to stop you. All they have to do is say, look, I don't even know. Do you have to pay taxes if you liquidate Bitcoin?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, capital gains. Even if you buy diminished amounts.
So if I buy a pizza with a Bitcoin, it's a tax event, right?
If the Bitcoin you use appreciated in value since you bought it.
How do you fill out your tax returns on that?
It's a disaster. That's why it's not.
So it's not a currency at all then.
No, it's I'm fine with right now.
It is a currency. It's not accepted everywhere, and it doesn't benefit you.
No. But if every time you spend it, you've got a taxable event.
Yeah.
Sure.
You're going to be very
it's not treated as a currency in America, but it's still functional.
No. But if every time you buy a pizza with a Bitcoin, you've got to report that to the IRS. You're going to spend all your proceeds on accounting fees.
I mean, Dave, this has been the state of Bitcoin forever. That's why it's functioning better as a store of value than a medium of exchange, and it's got a long ways to go before it becomes a media exchange unit of account.
I think Dave.
I don't think it'll be a medium of exchange. I think that story's gone.
I think Dave's main point is we got to keep our head on a swivel.
Yeah, for sure.
I think he raises really good questions. And these, look, I think Bitcoin has to go up against the worst of it all to survive those things and prove its anti-fragility. So
let me tell you something that I guarantee you is coming that Bitcoin has never experienced: a global banking downturn.
I agree.
Sustained.
I agree 100% with that.
Yeah.
Right. So Bitcoin, whenever I say it to hodler, you can tell the real green ones because they say, "Oh yeah, it's drawn down to 80%." I go, "You're not listening. Yeah. That's the Bitcoin world. That's Max and Stacy losing 80%. I am talking a global banking downturn, which we are long overdue for.
Yep.
We do not know how Bitcoin will respond. Now, Bitcoin, one of the things that could happen for me personally is to watch that happen, watch Bitcoin and say, now you have my attention.
Mm-hmm. Agree. 100%.
I want to see you. I want to see you get through one big bone crushing downturn to see how you respond. It could go up. It could run away from me where I don't want to spend $1 million for a Bitcoin. Right? Mm-hmm. I'm okay going to my grave saying I missed a big one. I sold shares of a company that I got by an acquisition. I sold because I didn't understand the new company, and they went up 250x. I don't lose sleep. I don't lose sleep. So we should move on. I'm just devil's advocate. I'm just saying that if the people who own it don't understand the law, when the FBI gets Bitcoin back, here's a question that surfaced just the other day. So let's say you're Max or Stacy or someone else. Some guy breaks into your house, puts a gun to your head and says, transfer the Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. So do these guys who are now Bitcoin rich, and unlike, let's say I have my gold in some depository somewhere, they can't put a gun to my head and say, get the gold, because I'll just go out and get the cops. But if they say, pop your laptop open, transfer it.
You can hold Bitcoin in a way where you can't transfer it. You can hold it similarly to gold. You could have institutional custodians that won't transfer it.
What? But the serious players say, don't let institutions hold your Bitcoin.
Right.
Yeah, but you have to look at your own personal threat vector. I mean,
you make a good point. You make a good point, Dave.
Everyone should act for themselves in their own self-interest.
And by the way, unlike someone putting a gun to your head in your living room and your gold's in a depository, in theory, your Bitcoin is right there.
Depends on how you hold it. If you understand how to
know.
secure it, doesn't mean your attacker understands any of that and is not breaking your fingers while you're trying to explain that you can't actually.
That would suck, but they can do that to me.
Or your gold or your stocks.
No, I think you're 100% right. That's a major
Concern.
issue with self-custody. And we're
this
seeing
is why something like Bill Gates has bodyguards all the time.
Attack is on the rise around the country, around the world. I mean, people are getting
and of course,
attacked
you guys
very small
debanking, big problem now, right? Again, I'm not ripping at you guys because I actually think
we get it. Yeah,
but I am trying to tell the goofball who bought Bitcoin 20% back and thinks they're stinking rich that they could be, you know, it's like we're going to, maybe we'll get to Putin and Trump, right? Putin, Trump, and Zelensky. If they're going to meet, there's going to be two lions and a gazelle talking about what they're going to have for dinner, right? And it's going to be Zelensky.
Yeah.
And they'll put a gun to Zelensky's head and they'll say, look, here's the deal. You're giving up this land. We're getting this. You're getting this. NATO's not going here. United States guarantees that. And by the way, Volodymyr, there's money in the Cayman Islands if you want to bolt out of here. Otherwise, you're going to get a cap on the back of the head.
Mm-hmm.
So this,
I didn't mean to cut you off.
This is when they finally meet, the script has already been written.
Yeah, you don't really know how dangerous the government is until its back is against the wall.
Well, history shows it's always dangerous.
Yeah.
Do you think that flyby surprised Putin?
No, I bet you they told him it was coming. You know, when Biden went to Kyiv, they sent a message to the Russians, by the way, Biden's going to be in Kyiv, don't bomb it. Russians don't want World War III more than we apparently.
Do you think that Putin's a bad guy, Russia started it, and Zelensky just has bad cards?
I think Putin, you loaded the question. To say Putin's not a bad guy would be a bad statement. I think Putin is the most grounded leader in the world. I think
capable of bad things if he needs to be.
Well, Russia.
All leaders are, right?
Trudeau can't run Russia, right? Mm-hmm. No one could run Russia. Putin can run Russia. That's what they need. They need a guy with those kind of balls, right? Riding grizzly bears without a shirt on, balls, right? And he's done it, and the Russians like him, despite what CNN and MSNBC say. The Russians like the guy, and so he doesn't bluff either. Yeah. So I think what Trump I thought this would happen faster, but I think what happened is back in 2014. NATO started feeling their oats and started pushing at Russia, and all sorts of bad things happened. Putin kept saying, look, quit fucking around. This is going to lead to trouble. You know, you can't have Ukraine. For us, Ukraine is existential risk. And we just kept fucking around with Ukraine. We started sending CIA. We were funding the goddamn Azov battalion. We were training them. There's videos of Lindsey Graham talking to the Ukrainians over in Ukraine. I think the only thing that we needed was for a bullet to go through his head on camera. And so Putin kept saying, look, fuck around, find out. For 10 years, he said, fuck around, find out. And then he finally said, okay, that's it. We're going. He moved 160,000 troops in. That's not a war. That's a police force. That's Washington, D.C. National Guard level, right? Mm-hmm. When Russia went against, what was it, Finland in World War II, and it was kind of a draw, they had 1 million troops. You don't occupy Ukraine with 160,000 troops. You move 160,000 to kick a few butts, to grab the Azov guys, take them to a gulag, execute them, right? They denazified Ukraine. That was their plan. But I think Putin thought we'd say, okay, we got the message. And Putin tried to negotiate like 3 months later. Yeah. And Boris Johnson said, don't do it, right? So you listen to guys like Mearsheimer and Jeff Sachs and stuff, they understand. They know what's going on. So I fully support Putin in this battle. And I think that the war never should have happened. And I think if Trump was president, it wouldn't have happened. And I thought within a week, Putin and Trump would be over there and they'd just be deciding how to handle it. The problem is they can decide how to handle it, but we've got the whole problem of Europe. Yeah. And the claim is, and this doesn't make sense to me, well, it kind of does. The claim is that Europe has made a bet that they're going to get Ukraine's resources or they're going to die. So it's do or die for them to get Ukraine's resources. You can read articles about Germany's economy being a complete disaster zone, just total depression. They got rid of all their fossil fuel based energy. They denuked themselves. Their whole economy is a mess. Now, paradoxically, the German DAX is going exponential, which shows you that the markets tell you nothing. The markets are no longer a reflection of anything. And that's a problem because they will become one eventually. But if Europe existentially needs Ukraine's resources, that would be why Europe would hang tough. But they don't have any tanks or anything.
Do you think
Russia
that's
has
related then with all the European Union leaders all of a sudden cozying up to Trump and agreeing to tariffs and agreeing to buy?
I have no, you know.
Do you think this is related to the settlement with Ukraine?
We're somewhere between 5D chess and a raving lunatic.
Yeah.
Those are the two bookends to the story, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think Europe has it in them to defy Trump and the United States if we say, look, the war's over. I think Europe just got to suck it up.
Yeah.
Now, it could also be we're going to cut deals, but you know, Putin's a huge winner if the United States says, look, you get Ukraine. We become trading partners. We'll help you develop the oil fields and the timber industry again. We'll help you rebuild it because it's all fucked up. But we want to be your customer. We've always wanted Europeans to get natural gas out of us, not them. So we'll say, okay, you sell your natural gas to China. We'll sell our natural gas to Europe. We win, you win. I'm sure Putin and Trump can come up with a super, super win-win situation without us owning any of Ukraine. Right?
Yep.
It would just be a great trading partner. Meanwhile, Europe gets humped. And so I think we're working
left and right these days.
I think Europe's a mess, right?
Yeah.
I like Meloni. I like Viktor Orban, who are hated by the Europeans.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not a big fan of Macron and his wife, husband, father, whatever he is. All three.
Dave, we're going to wrap it up here. I'll talk to you on Friday afternoon. We'll get into all this for sure.
So we're doing Friday? I can't remember.
Yeah, we're doing Friday. So I can't wait.
I'm sure something will happen between now and Friday. We'll get into it again.
All right. Well, we'll talk soon.
You can't even keep up.
I know.
Dave, thank you for your time tonight.
This has been fire,
My
Dave.
pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the cabin. Stay warm.
Hit like and subscribe if you're enjoying Bitcoin Center. I'm Cedric Youngelman. This is Paul Tarantino. And this is Bitcoin Center.
Buy Federal, go bank yourself.
Let's get into the Litecoin right now. All right. Who's up?
You are up.
BlackRock rules out XRP ETF plans despite Ripple's legal win. Sticking to Bitcoin for now, temporarily win or firm stance on where it stands. No XRP for BlackRock.
I hate to say it, but I finally have to say, good job, BlackRock. No, they do have other ETFs in the crypto space, but there's a lot of other Wall Street firms getting on this bandwagon. There's going to be an XRP ETF eventually, unfortunately. And you know, I just think
I don't care, but I'm disappointed that all this stuff is getting greenlit.
It's crypto.
It's bullshit,
ICO,
but the government is backdooring all this
bullshit.
stuff in, and I don't get it. But I mean, I kind of get it. It sucks.
It's the same freaking. It's just history repeating itself on blockchain time.
Yeah, let's move through this one. Let's get on to the other one.
The smear campaign against Sailor and Strategy are recent tweets attacking Sailor and Strategy's coordinated effort.
You know, I don't know if it's like coordinated by some leader, but I think there's a pack of hyenas, on
Definitely.
Strategy, led by Chanos. and James Chanos, and I think that they see and hear each other, and they're just feeding.
Yeah.
And I
mean, I would tell people, anybody who's a strategy complainer, if you want rules without rulers, buy Bitcoin and quit buying treasury companies.
Yeah.
If you want a ruler, then get in line and follow Saylor. I don't know. I don't understand what you were all thinking.
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, if there's nothing wrong with taking your profits and buying
it doesn't
Bitcoin
mean
and
like
cold storage.
MicroStrategy's dead.
No, I don't think it's dead.
Not at all.
But it really remains to be seen how much torque, or how much the market's gonna put a premium on the Bitcoin in the portfolio on the balance sheet. So that remains to be seen.
I think this is also what happens when you follow the hype and you think strategy is going to 4x and then it goes sideways for fucking 6 months.
Yeah, well,
people get pissed off.
We'll see. All right. Op-ed, fund U.S. Bitcoin reserve with tariff surplus. Visionary budget neutral pathway or destined to die in DC gridlock?
I think it's destined to die in DC.
There's no way that's passing.
There's no way that's passing. There's enough hate against tariffs already. The tariff thing is like a major talking point between blue and red parties. So I don't think, I think this is a great, a neat idea. I don't think it has any legs. I don't think we'll see it.
Yeah, let's move on.
Galaxy CEO, 1 million Bitcoin was signal, $1 million Bitcoin was signal US debt spiral, not victory. The question is, if Bitcoin at 1 million reflects a collapsing dollar, should Bitcoiners cheer the milestone or fear the civil fallout? That's kind of what Dave was talking about.
I think Dave would argue, I don't want to speak for him, but like at some point we got to rip the Band-Aid off the economy and deal with some pain here that we've been kicking down the road since 2008.
Right.
I don't think $1 million Bitcoin this year would mean that the American society is just fracturing and being torn apart. But I get the trope, and you hear this a lot. Like when Bitcoin's $10 million, what is the price of bread? Can anyone afford it? And I think though what we'll see is some sort of
yes and no, because if Bitcoin could go to $1 million because it's absorbing all the inflation,
right?
And AI is suppressing production prices, creating efficiencies.
Yeah, I think people are broadly
that comes with a lot of unemployment,
which I think we're going to see.
But I think the key. I mean, my crystal ball, which gets broken all the time. You're going to see this big financial crisis occur within the next year. Everything's going to get sold off. And then we're going to get the last big print of our lifetime, which then drives Bitcoin to $1 million a coin.
But you're talking about a K-shaped recovery where everything bounces back like COVID.
100%. But this time, it's mostly going to go into Bitcoin. You're not going to get
to the point where it's non-correlated, like it's rising at such a faster rate where it's just clearly not correlated, or is it always going to be correlated?
It's going to still be correlated, but I think it's going to absorb a far more of a larger percentage of the inflation than it did in 2020. And I think Bitcoin will really break out on constrained supply during that era. A lot of people will be going demonetizing real estate, demonetizing stocks, demonetizing treasuries, demonetizing other assets, putting it into Bitcoin.
I mean, I think Bitcoin has historically though thrived on easy money, liquidity, and I could see that being very inflationary. If it was we had a very inflationary environment. Bitcoin went up a lot. It'd be interesting to see what happens to consumer goods in that. I
think the important question becomes, whatever the price of Bitcoin, is it preserving purchasing power? If it meant
tearing spark, if Bitcoin went to $1 million by May of 2026, and simultaneously that was really bad for the average American,
right?
And it's going to go to $1 million either way. Would you want it to happen in 2026 or 2036 and be slower and less pain?
I would want it to be slower.
Yeah, not just rip the Band-Aid off.
It's more sustainable. The faster and more rapid we pump, the harder we'll fall.
Right. So maybe we're in that moment now. Let's move on.
Okay.
Citigroup eyes crypto custody. Is this bank FOMO? Which bank will get there first?
This is stablecoin related. Citigroup's working on stablecoin payments. So custodying stablecoins, this is like the intranet versus the internet. This is like their own server running their own stablecoin. Custodying that is like just a entry in an Excel spreadsheet. So I like this isn't a real big like crypto thing. This is just banks realizing with the Stablecoin Act, or
we shouldn't call it
Genius Act.
We shouldn't call them crypto. Stablecoins shouldn't be called crypto.
It's a digital dollar.
And stablecoins, we should call them digital political currency units.
Yeah. Or okay.
Yeah. Something to separate and like indicate.
As far as like, is this bank FOMO? I don't think so. I mean,
No,
JP Morgan has been doing this on Ethereum since 2019.
But JP Morgan's also an authorized participant in the ETF markets.
Yeah.
They're making money on the picks and the shovels.
Yeah. But all the big banks are gonna do this. It's not FOMO.
All right, let's move on.
Miner profits edge higher. Are the miners stronger than ever?
I would argue no.
Yeah, me too.
This is very cyclical. I think the Bitcoin treasury companies have put a big dim on the miners and pointed out and I think the miners it's a really brutal industry.
Yeah.
Capital intensive, debt intensive, very strong, very big cycles to weather.
Do you think these
storm.
miners become like utility companies essentially? Like
they might end up being
future?
Subsidized by the government. Yeah, totally. Especially when you start thinking about sort of the scarcity of block size transactions and the need to get your transactions.
To me, this is the budget neutral way for governments to get.
Right. Well, nuclear power at Bitcoin.
It's like, hey, we're putting in our nuclear, our portable nuclear military reactor. You guys mine Bitcoin for us.
Let's move on to the next one.
DOJ seizes 2.8 million crypto from ransomware. Have we overlooked how effective crackdowns on bad actors could be in a steadily growing national Bitcoin reserve?
Yeah, I mean, they made it clear they want to acquire Bitcoin through confiscation. They like that path. I would want to know, there's been large confiscations. I would want to know what the average or the median of confiscations are.
2.8 million is not
going to really move the needle.
No.
So I don't think it's going to add material amounts of Bitcoin, but they're going to increase every time they confiscate coins, and government can just take your shit. So
the government can take your shit. Agreed.
Peter Thiel, bullish IPO mania, real skin in the game from Silicon Valley's elite, or VC opportunism?
I think it's VC opportunism. I mean, I know Thiel has been impressed with Bitcoin. I know he's talked about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
He said good things and not so great things about Bitcoin. He's not a maxi. I think he's a VC maxi. He's always looking for disrupting technologies that he can invest in and make a ton of money.
But he does a lot of work with the state.
Yeah.
With Palantir.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't buy the origin story with Facebook. I mean, I think they were put together, but he was the first 500K into Facebook.
Yeah.
Palantir. I mean, these are all tools of surveillance. He comes out of PayPal, like Reid Hoffman started LinkedIn. PayPal, he understands money. He clearly understands Bitcoin.
Yep.
But I do think it's opportunism. I don't think he's going to push the Bitcoin campaign yet.
I think he's just going to go on to wherever he can make his biggest buck.
Probably on stable coins.
India launches a Bitcoin research institute. Research first, adoption later, or move to contain?
I don't know. I think they're all looking at it. Look, Pakistan, we just talked about it last week. Pakistan, they've noted they're trying to lower fees on the VAT tax and get the young people are interested in this stuff. And,
hey, India, you could replace your research institute with Saifedean's book, The Bitcoin Standard. Done.
$29.99. You're done.
Exactly.
And you could download it for free. Say it doesn't mind.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on to the next one.
Translated if you need it.
Bo Hines moved over to Tether. That's not the topic, but that was interesting.
That was interesting.
Who is this mine?
Yeah, I think. Yep.
All right. Oh, this is
okay. Can I just ask
Origin.
before you even ask a question? Why does his rocket look like a phallus?
Well, I don't know, man. He's got a nice bald head, though. He's in the club. Blue Origin accepts Bitcoin payments. Who will be the first Bitcoin OG in space?
Mandrake.
That's my bet.
I've got two. Either our CTO Leonard, who's fascinated with getting to Mars as soon as possible, or Charlie Shrem, who also wants to go. Those are the two candidates that I have in my.
Those are good guesses. I was going to go with Mandrake. He's got the pilot license, I think, and he seems to enjoy adventurous stuff. I have no idea. That's a
I
good
think
guess, though.
Charlie and
Shrim's a good
Lennart
one.
will be
All right, then
chinging champagne on,
maybe Chris
on the
Pavlovsky,
phallus
CEO
rocket.
Rumble. That'll be good. I went on the replica of the Blue Origin. I went on that in Vegas.
I mean, it's like Blue Origin. I'm thinking like a blue pill, and then you got the Boner rocket, and you got the CEO with his young plastic girlfriend. I mean, it just seems like this is some sort of childhood fantasy of his.
All right, well, we'll leave it at that. Let's jump into the Q&A. If you're enjoying the show, please like and subscribe.
Right.
Francis, do we have any questions over there?
We mainly have comments, but not really questions.
Oh, let's hear some comments.
Let's do it.
Let's hear some people talk shit about us.
Dude, we bounced off of
What is that?
112,700. What are you laughing at now?
I don't know. The whole bar disappeared.
Yeah, now it's just
Francis
more
disappeared.
awkward space. Francis is gone.
Okay, so the U.S. would take gold liquidation risk in that scenario.
That's mainly when Dave was talking. Maybe
Gold
we can
liquidation
bring up-
risk. I don't think I understand the comment.
So,
But
the
I
US would take gold.
I don't necessarily agree. I think people, if the U.S. revalued gold, I think
you have to sell it. Like, you can't just revalue it. I don't think it does anything.
No, because
why haven't they done that already then?
What ends up happening?
Why don't they just haven't they been doing that along?
Because that's the last. Because if you revalue gold, you make China wealthy, you make Russia wealthy, you make everybody wealthy.
The other holders.
This is why I think they engineered Bitcoin, and they want to get it into
American hands.
They want the U.S. to prosper and be strong and dominant, and they want the U.S. to adopt Bitcoin faster and harder than anybody else. Now, if the shit hits the fan, and it's the last thing they have in the last bullet they have in the chamber, they'll revalue gold. They'll get the TGA up, and they'll be able to finance more government operations.
I hear you. Well, Stan Leo wrote, the email protocol is technically decentralized, but does not act decentralized in practice.
Yeah, good point.
That is a great point.
Mm-hmm.
You know what is incredible?
Email is essentially an ETF these days.
Something I couldn't stop thinking about when Dave was talking about it. We haven't seen price discovery in a lot of asset classes, like true price discovery on the downside. And you look at sort of all assets are managed through like basically BlackRock, Vanguard, and the DTCC.
Yep.
And the centralization here is really beyond the scope of anything I could really comprehend. Mm-hmm. And you'd wonder, how is anything really truly priced fairly or a free market?
You just hit the nail on the head, because Chris Sullivan pointed this out in Tampa.
Right.
The BlackRock ETF, there's a subsidiary of the DTCC that custodies some or all of their Bitcoin.
Yeah.
There's
several subsidiaries of the DTCC, one for stocks, one for bonds, one for Bitcoin.
So, that's the ultimate rug pull. Crash the assets. The DTCC seizes all the assets, takes all the collateral.
So Peruvian Bull was talking about the great taking, David Webb's book. I mean, the only response that I saw that was actually merited any note, though, was someone's like, a couple people were like, well, we got the guns. Like, take all the shit. You're going to really piss everyone off. Like, I mean, maybe that's why they're trying to numb the population and
demasculize.
Yeah, sure. But
I mean, they've been trying to take the guns forever.
Yeah. I think Dave raised a lot of good points.
Your guns are not like really useful against a viral attack or a chemical weapon,
right?
Or an EMP,
right?
Or I mean, like, there's a lot of ways to take out the ants.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason Tom Luongo named the show "Gold, Goats, and Guns."
Yep.
All right. Well, this has been another banger. This is BitcoinCenter.
Steers and sovereignty, baby.
Yeah, there you go. BitcoinCenter, brought to you by Byte Federal. Go bank yourself. Point of sale, wallet, and the Bitcoin ATMs. Get that shit in custody.
You got it.